tag. Watch me jump.
How's it going, guys? This is another tutorial by me, Tag Animations, or Tag, or you can just call me Adrian. This is the last of the basics tutorial before we get into some really good stuff. I'm talking about scenes, lighting, everything. We're going to start from scratch, from nothing, and build a scene up. I'm going to show you guys how I do things, how I make presets, how I save stuff, everything. And everything that goes into making a scene, I'll show you guys how to do that. So that's going to be in a more advanced tutorial series, and that should be out in a couple weeks. Also, in maybe a month and a half, I will have gaming on my channel, starting with Minecraft and probably branching out from there. So that's going to be really cool. You can notice that I sound a lot better because my new microphone over here, probably can't see it, but it's over here. And my webcam my new webcam that I have, and also I'm on my new computer right now. So yeah, things have been moved around and changed up and stuff. So it's really still a learning experience. I've only had this computer up for about a day or so. So things are moving along really quickly. I just want to show you guys a few things that I'm proud of. This is my Twitter page. If you want to follow me, try to get some new updates, see what I'm working on, you guys can do so. It's at Tag Animations. Then my YouTube channel, I really want to thank you guys a lot for the support on Temple of Ignite, the Minecraft animation. I really didn't think you would get that much support. I mean, even 340 views, that might be a little to a lot of people, but to me, that's a lot. I mean, that's crazy, and I think it already has like 40 likes on it, which is crazy. I actually see the likes as being more of a power than the views, like more of a thing that, like, wow. Can't really explain it in words. I'm still pretty excited that it's still doing so well, and it's only been almost a week. So yeah, that's pretty cool, and it's gonna allow me to do some more cinematics in the future. Now that I know that you guys really enjoy that kind of stuff. So thank you guys a lot. Then I wanted to show you guys that I've updated this stuff. So I'm going to have more things eventually. Basically, this is just a guide of what's going on and what each letter on my video stands for. So if you go to my videos or whatever, and if you see all these letters and stuff on the videos, you can understand this like means education, this means like animation, like a full animation, not like a test or something, stuff like that. So be sure to check out my about side of this. Down here is my business email if you want to get in contact with me at all, and then all my links down here. And my website, if you haven't seen that, you should go check that out. That really just has all my stuff, everything, anything you need to know about me and stuff. Also, I have a DeviantArt. It's a little bit different because I haven't got premium in order to change my account name into Tag Animations. So right now it's King from Hatina. So if you ever wanted to know, I post renders and some line art stuff and stuff like that. So go check that out if you want to. And last but not least, the freebies for you guys. I made a few different things this past week, and I think I've been getting a lot of good feedback on this stuff. Minecraft extruded tools, they're really extruded tools that you can use. They have reflections, everything like that. You can make them glow. I'm probably going to rig them up sooner. Right now they're just the tools and stuff and a little slider to change between tools, but I eventually want to rig it up so that way you have more flexibility just within some user data or some HUD information. But yeah, these three are free. I have my own sun preset where you just load in the sun, you change maybe a few settings, and you have a sun in your scene. And same with the moon. It's pretty much the same thing, but for a moon. So those three are free. If you really want to support me, just pitch in like $1 or so. You can get these packs. I have the couch pack and the chairs and tables pack if you want to try those out. I'm gonna add a lot more stuff to this. A lot of the stuff is gonna be free because I want people to get to know me, know that I'm not in this. I'm in this for the fun and for the thrill of just making animations for you guys and doing what I do because I like doing it. So, yeah. Okay. So today's tutorial and the last tutorial before we get into the advanced series is gonna be about baking because I will do some of the baking. I will be doing some baking in the future for this next series, so I want to get you guys introduced to it so that way you guys can understand what it is exactly. So baking is basically, this is the INI scene that I did, and all of the textures seem to be missing-ish. Not all of them, but some of them. So anyways, baking is basically it's like loading, it's like taking up that time. So when you render a scene or you render in frames, each time Cinema 4D renders, it processes the whole scene all over again. Each time just keeps on processing it over and over and over. What baking allows you to do, if you bake an object, it will like calculate all that stuff and place it into a texture. So all the lighting, all the shadows and stuff, put it into a texture so that way Cinema 4D doesn't have to keep on calculating it each frame. It just has to do it once and then you're good. And this is good for a lot of scenes that if you're gonna like go back to a scene, if you're gonna go back to a scene over and over, so if you're like doing like cinematics or something and you need a whole bunch of different shots for the whole scene, it's really good to try and make sure that you it's really good that you make sure how you have your scene baked so that way you can render it faster, because if you're doing multiple camera angles, you want to make sure that all your stuff isn't calculating each frame. You want to make sure that you just have to do it once and then it goes on. So this is the Ionite scene or whatever, the Ionite temple scene or whatever. And so basically what I did here was this whole scene probably takes 30 minutes to render on average, and that was with my old computer. And my old computer was a AMD FX 8350 or something like that. So it's like a buffed out quad core or whatever. So and that did the scene pretty well, and that's 30 minutes. But in order to reduce that time, because doing 30 minutes with 10 different cameras, as you can see here, that's a lot. And doing like 500 frames per camera, that's a lot of time. And I had to get this out within a week and a half, because I wanted something to show. So because I haven't had an animation on my channel in I don't know how long, so I really wanted to get it out for you guys. And by baking, I was able to get it out to render all this along with a friend of mine who had a really nice rig PC. Basically, I got it done within a week, maybe a week and a half, because I was just struggling to bake. But yeah, learning how to bake is pretty frustrating at first. You gotta know how to do it. So anyways, basically what I did was I took all these right here were all the ones that I baked. I baked all these textures, so the gold, most of the easy ones you want to bake, or anything that looks like it can take a lot of time. It's kind of hard to explain, but I took whatever I could to bake without taking things. So the water that you saw, the gold, the ice, the glass, all that has been baked. And you can see that when you bake something, it turns out in stuff like this. So it creates like a whole thing for your, that was ambient occlusion, and this is like for the coloring and everything. And you zoom all the way in and you can see how much detail there is. Like this is a 8,000 by 8,000 picture, and you can see how much work it had to do. It took like maybe 2 or 3 days to actually just bake everything. But so that's what baking does. It puts everything onto a texture, and then it allows you to not have to go through that again. Even just baking the color, I think, would do a lot. You can't really, I don't think you can bake reflections that I know of, but I think that there is a way to, how to like bake transparency and reflection stuff. But generally what you want to do is just bake the texture itself, because that's what's gonna take the most time. And what the light and everything, you want to bake lighting and the texture mainly, because that's what takes up the most time. So now that we've gone over that and frustratingly went through my scene and showed you a little bit of that, now I'm gonna show you actually in a simpler scene how to go about baking. So let's get started. So I have a light here, and it's just an omni light and area shadows, and basically I'm just gonna duplicate that. Oops, why is it duplicating? Or I was gonna duplicate it. There we go. So I'm just gonna basically duplicate that, and then I'm gonna duplicate this. There we go. Now it's working. And duplicate that. So there's 4 light, or there were 4 lights. Okay, now there's 4 lights in the scene. So now I am going to make this one a visible light, or a volumetric actually. So that way we can see if we can't get some reflections onto this sphere that we're gonna add in. And then I'm gonna make a floor object, or a plane object. The reason you want to use plane objects mostly is because plane objects can scale, floor objects can't. So I usually always do plane objects and just put it to like 40,000, because then it goes beyond the horizon, then you can't really see it anymore. Okay, so now that we got that, we're gonna add like a texture to this. We are going to keep on specular, because I don't really know what specular does that much. Add some reflection. Actually, we're going to take off specular. I actually don't really like it. Put it there, and cool. So now we got our lights, and we got these. I'm going to move this one and this one. Come here. Come here. Okay. It's not going to come here. We're going to move these 2 up, just so that way we don't have so many spots here. And this plugin is Magic Preview, if you're wondering. It's pretty cool. You could just dock it into your window, and it really kind of renders pretty quickly. Just like a preview of what's going on in your scene. It's pretty cool. And you can do other stuff. It's not like the render view where if you click on something or something, it messes up. It will stay there, which is really awesome. Okay, so we're gonna add a sphere to our scene. There we go. And we are going to add a cloner. And I've already talked about cloners in the first tutorial, so if you haven't seen that, please go check that out, because that's kind of important. Yes. So now we got our spheres. Sorry, I'm in a cube mindset. So and just kind of drag down the spheres, make them a little bit smaller. And then what we're gonna do here is we're gonna make sure we're gonna make them red, just because red is cool. Actually, it's more like a burgundy. And we're gonna add those there. So now we have some red spheres. with some reflections. What else do we need? Let's actually add a texture to them, right? Let's add a texture. I don't know what kind of texture we should do. Well, they already have lighting. Yeah, they already have lighting. We're gonna switch up some of these lights so that way you can really see what's going on, and we're gonna turn down some of the we are gonna turn down some of these. We're gonna make these a little bit bigger. Turn this down just a bit. There we go. Make sure that global illumination is on. It is. Turn it to low. Preview. There we go. Okay. So now that we got that, and that's out of the way. Okay. Sorry about that. So basically, for some reason, my computer just totally freaked out and blue screened. So hopefully there was a cool transition between that. Because if not, just tell me, because I will make sure there's going to be a cool transition. Anyways, so I kind of redid the whole scene again. I didn't really save that. So basically we have our 4 lights still. I still need to add a reflective plane. Almost forgot. Hold up. Okay. So now we are back to where we started. Okay. So basically, what I did here was basically same setup, same 4 lights, different colors. And then what I did was I added transparency for the spheres. The reason I added transparency is so that way we can see a difference between the render times before we bake and after we bake, so that way you guys can get a good idea of how much time baking can shave off of your actual thing, and actually and still work, you know. So this is what I'm gonna do. So now that we have our scene, I guess, we can start setting up for baking. So what we can bake is the lighting, pretty much. Maybe we want to intensify the blue so that way we can actually see it on the spheres. Because what you want is you want a lighting that actually shows on, see, like that. So that way when we take the lights out, you can see how much, what that does. So right now that's going to be our lighting, right? And if we were to render this, we're going to do just a general render to see where this puts us. Just low settings for most of this stuff. Yeah. And we're just gonna render this out and see how long this takes. Shouldn't take that long, but yeah. So we're gonna do that. And while that's rendering, I'm gonna let you guys know how to bake. So basically, to bake an object, you want to go to, let's see if I remember. Okay, so yeah, to bake an object, you select the object, then you go to Objects, Bake Object, and you'll see this, which is really weird. There's actually Bake Texture and Bake Object. I'll get into Bake Texture once I actually understand it fully. In the Ionite animation, I didn't really understand how to bake that good, or how to bake really at all. So I still am still trying to learn how to do it exactly. But so far Bake Object has been the one that's been with me. So right now that's how I'm gonna teach it. So save that I'm gonna save that as a PNG. We are gonna bake the ambient occlusion, the illumination. We want it to be a single texture that comes back, so it just replaces the texture that we have now, and we want it to replace the object with its own baked object. 512, 512, that's fine. If you're dealing with the actual texture, you want to make it the size of the texture. So if you're baking like leaves Well, if you're using Mindways, what you have to bake it at is, here, I'll do it here, 8192 by 8192. Just because all those textures are on a texture sheet, and each one of those textures are, well, at least mine. I don't know how much 8 by 8 is, but you have to kind of like multiply it by every single texture on the sheet. All I know is that if you use 256 by 256 textures, you will have to bake at 8192. If you use textures less than that, then it's probably going to be way less. So that's something you should know, guys, before you render. It won't be anything really small like this, I don't think. So basically, once you do this is probably the most you're gonna do. Here, you just save it to your desktop. Do that, and let's check on the picture viewer. That's still rendering, and that's been 2 minutes so far, and you can see how detailed this is gonna be, which is cool because that's exactly what we want. And so we're gonna save this, make sure we have it saved, and we're gonna bake this to my desktop. It shouldn't take that long. Yeah, it shouldn't take that long. We just gotta wait for it to bake the sphere all the way. There we go. So it's baked the sphere, and so I'm pretty sure, and you can see that all the colors are on here now. So basically, when I turn off these lights, you can see that they're all already, you can already see what's going on. So you can see all the things. The only thing you have to put back on is reflection and transparency. And so just copy that, oops, paste it there, and copy transparency. I don't think it's copying right, but that's fine. So we're just gonna go to transparency, go to light orange. Oh, this was white, and it's gonna be there. Transparency, reflection is gonna be there. What do we have for here? 79 for reflection, 85 for transparency. So basically, you just put back the same settings for reflection and transparency. I think 85. I think 85. 85, 75. Yes. And 1.4 for this. Okay. That should be it. 85, 79. Oh, 79. This is just so the way if I have the exact settings, then no one can say that I'm doing it wrong. And diffusion, we want that to be none. And we don't really have specular, so we're going to turn that off. So basically what it does is it takes it away from the color channel, which takes probably the most time, and it puts in the diffusion channel and luminance channel, which I don't know how it does it exactly, but it seems by these two channels save a lot less time instead of just putting it back in the color channel. So transparency is the same and reflection is the same. You can see by the texture material things that it's a little bit different, but not too much different, too different. And that's the baking thing. We can check up on this again. This is now at 5 minutes or so. And I'm going to just let it render. I'm going to come back and we'll render the other one. And I'll show you guys what's next. Okay, welcome back, guys. So basically 9 minutes and 42 seconds is what this did. Simple scene, but a lot of reflections and a lot of transparency and stuff really adds on to the render time. And I'm actually going to save this because I really like it. It's actually pretty cool. So basically that was without baking at all. So all these, and if we were to do an animation, this would take way too much, so much time that it wouldn't even be worth making into an animation. So now we're going to try with this new sphere object, which has the transparency and the stuff baked into it. And by rendering that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed it up. I'm going to speed up the render and everything so that you can see. And I'll be back once that's done. Quick note. Basically, after you have you baked all that stuff in, you don't have to have ambient occlusion and global illumination on anymore. Since that's already baked in, you don't have to have it on. So now you're just rendering it without the lighting and without the global illumination and ambient occlusion. Okay, so I'm back, and you probably realized there was a cut or whatever. That's because I did it wrong a little bit. What I should have said is that you shouldn't do just the sphere. You had to do, if you're doing like MoGraph stuff, it would be like the cloner or the text or whatever. You have to do the top object. Or if you were to make it object, you would just select all these spheres, go to bake object, and then do it that way. And I did keep UVs. I don't know if that's going to make a difference, but it should. And also use layers. Layers, they save like space, so you don't have to do so much. So use like TIFF PSD layers or just PSD file, whatever. And it should. So now this should work. Baking only took like, I don't know, probably 10 minutes, 20 minutes, one of those. So after you're done baking your scene, you'll notice that you would have to bake this floor in order to turn off your lights. In order to do that, and what I did in the ionite animation was, if you add a composing tag to your baked objects, so composing right there, you add a composing tag, and you can still keep your lights on, you can still keep global illumination on for the floor, but for these you can say you don't want it to be seen by global illumination. You do want it to be seen by transparency. You want it to be seen by reflection, but not ambient occlusion, and you don't want it, so you do want these to cast shadows on the ground and stuff. Since this hasn't been baked, you can't, you have to have this object on. Receive shadows you can turn off though. Since all these have been baked, they're receiving shadows from each other, and the floor is the only thing that needs to have shadows cast on. So that's it. And none of these are going to receive their own shadows because receive shadows is off. So basically that's how you exclude them from being calculated over again, but also keep it so that your lights and stuff are still shining on other things. So it's like a half and half scenario. If you can't bake your whole scene, you would bake half of your scene and then have half of that scene in the composite tag with these kind of settings. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get back that same camera view. I don't think it really matters where, but I'm going to try to get it back to here. And you can see, I don't know if it's here. You can see right here that this is the two images that it made. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that was all about, but this is basically kind of what it made. And if you go higher resolution, you're gonna get more detail. Hopefully it's the same effect. I'm not too sure if it is or not, but yeah. Again, I'm still new to this whole baking stuff, so I'm just trying to warn you guys about it, let you guys play around with it. If you guys can figure it out better than me, just let me know in like the comments or something how to actually use it, because I'm not too sure myself, but I do want to get you guys into it, because in a few weeks I will know how to use baking professionally. So I do want to do that and stuff. Oh, screw that. We're just going to get up close like before and render it there. So I think the last one was like 9:42, 9 minutes and 42 seconds. So we're gonna try to beat that. I'm just gonna let it render, see where it gets to. Hopefully it gets to a point where it's actually decent. So you can notice that the GI is a lot faster. It's definitely just having to pick up on the floor. It's not so much calculating what's on the objects anymore, on the spheres. Although the reflection and stuff is still going to the floor and stuff. So already we can see our GI is a lot faster. And once this starts rendering, we can see if it's pretty much the same effect. Okay, so I don't know how to really bake. I don't think there's really a tutorial on how to exactly do it full on. But if you know something, go ahead and let me know. Um, this is more along the lines of trial and error, and eventually it's gonna have to be something that I might do another tutorial in the future when I actually understand how to do it fully. But what I do want to say is that you can see that this ring right here, this ring is the band of color. That's the band of color that we baked. This band. Now, to get this whole illumination effect, I'm thinking that has to do with something along the lines of surface color. But you can already tell that even with this being a little bit brighter, because that's really all it needs to be, it's a little bit brighter. All the shadows are pretty much the same. Everything is the same. It's probably global illumination that made these a lot brighter. But either way, you can tell a little bit that with the ambient occlusion, which has baked. I don't know why the global illumination didn't bake as much, or if we just did the wrong texture map or what. But you can already tell that this one took 450 while this one over here took 9 minutes. And they're practically the same image besides the brightness. So it's a good thing to go ahead and test out and see what you can do yourself. Again, I'm really new to this, but I did want to throw it out there that it will be in the later tutorials. So it's good to get yourself, introduced to something new, so that way you can test out for yourself and see if you can't try to get faster renders yourself doing this kind of same technique, but playing around with bake object and bake texture, because those are the two things that really matter. Still not sure which one to do or what kind of texture size you have to do, but just play around with these, see what you get. If you figure something out, please tell me in the comments, because I'm into learning just as much as you guys are. Learning is, what is it? Learning, no, caring is sharing. That's not learning is. I was about to say learning is sharing, but anyways, if you share something, then we can both learn together and grow as animators, all of us. So this has been the end of the video. This is the end of the series for the basics. I hope you enjoyed, guys, because I really enjoy making these, even though sometimes I might mumble from time to time or talk, a bit weird, just, because I'm excited about teaching you guys this. It really does. I love you know, teaching you guys about what I learned and stuff. So I can't wait until I do the scene tutorials. That's where you'll actually see me get really hyped up at. And yeah, I'm excited. Can't wait to see you guys there. Thank you guys.